Hi there, everyone. This is Helenique Argeroux for Women of Truth. We are running these beautiful interviews with amazing, smart, intelligent women around the world to really harness the global wisdom and the personal truth that exists in women after many different types of experiences, sometimes great challenges. And this is helping us understand that it is possible to really be in your center, to be connected to who you really are, and to actually honestly and with integrity live the kind of life that you feel really supports and nourishes you. And we're listening today to a wonderful unicorn, I call her, Lisa Elvin. Unicorn because she just appeared on my Facebook feed talking about exactly what I was interested in, a woman in a male-dominated profession who was really realizing how sometimes it's challenging to have that position and that role, but also how accomplished she really is and how to actually then spread this wisdom into our circle, because I invited her to do that. And so today we're going to really hear from her, her insights, her learning, and her truth as a woman. So welcome, Lisa Elvin, finance manager from New Jersey. Lovely to have you.
Oh, thank you.
So Lisa is actually a highly analytical, detail-orientated professional with 20 years or so in a successful, progressive experience of finance, accounting, and management in a highly competitive industry. I'm sure you know people that are really good with numbers. Well, Lisa's one of them, but really interesting about her is that she's also what I call a social entrepreneur, or a woman who is socially aware and very committed to doing various projects. So Lisa, tell us about the projects that you're involved in and how you make this wonderful life-work balance happen as a woman and in your finance career, working as well in the community.
Well, I try to find work-life balance, but what I do is volunteer work. I work very closely with, and I'm on the board of a mental health agency
Right.
in the New York City area.
Yeah.
So, and I do a lot of board work and volunteer work and advocacy for people with mental illness. Um,
Right.
Partially because my son is mentally ill. So it's my
Okay.
cause. I champion that cause for him and for others like him. But it is a cause that's near and dear to my heart. And to spread the word and stop stigma and just to get the word out and to know that these people are marginalized. And
Absolutely.
it's it's my mission. It's my mission to make it better.
And we really want to meet women like you, and we want to honor women that do this, because many mothers get so inspired by a challenge they have in their child that actually then becomes the motivation for them to become so active in social change work and to be volunteering on boards and communities and do incredible things. And it's so wonderful to meet you and know that you're doing that on behalf of mental illness in New Jersey, and that you still managed to be the career mom and everything else like that. So congratulations. And thank you
Yeah.
so much for that. What was your big realization when you encountered living with a child that has mental illness and seeing the way the world is out there? What did you realize or learn that really pushed you forward to do this?
I realized the world didn't care. And I realized the schools don't understand it. I realized that people look down on them. I realized that they really don't want to help them; they want to silence them. And when I saw that, I said, "This can't be. There's so few services for children. The families are blamed. Um, they just something had to be done, and I'm only one person with an organization and with other people that are like-minded to say we can't tolerate this. Right now, we're fighting about and we're trying to make changes in mental hospitals because the conditions are abhorrent in mental hospitals. The conditions are abhorrent in the wards of regular hospitals when you get admitted with a mental illness and how you're treated. I saw it with my son. I just saw how it happened, and I couldn't sit. I had to stand, and I had to take action on his behalf.
Right. And I think having worked in government systems in two countries now, I also totally agree with you that it's also actually unacceptable to have such
Mm-hmm.
low level of service and treatment
Mhm.
for people in compromised positions, whatever that might be. I mean,
Right.
it's just not really acceptable that we live as a society with all that we know and all that we research and all that we are
Right.
capable of as human beings and have that level of service and treatment. It's just, it doesn't make sense. So just pointing that out is so important. And as a young girl, how different were you to now? And what kind of advice would you give your younger self, knowing that the world turns out to be the way it is now?
Well, I'm on a board of this organization, and the thing that bothers me the most is that women don't join boards.
Right,
Women don't take a leadership role. And I have two daughters, and I always tell them, make a difference.
right.
If you've given something or if you've accomplished, give back. You have to give back. Make the society a better place. Join a board. Be a leader. Embrace that part of yourself. Make the time. I make the time. It's difficult, but I make the time. That's what I would tell everybody. And it feels wonderful to do it.
So as a young girl, were you interested in that kind of thing, in making a difference in the world,
Um,
or did it grow into you as you
um,
became older?
Grow it. I was always kind of a little bit of a leader, but not to this degree. Um, I always knew I worked in not-for-profit mental health. Ironically, before my son was born, I worked in not mental health not-for-profit organizations. I did the financial, but I didn't realize that I would ever have to live with it and see it firsthand through him. So yeah, this came out of seeing him in the hospital and that the conditions were so bad. I said I have to do something.
Right. So this career in finance and being a woman in a male-dominated profession, what are you learning there?
Right. I'm learning. Well, I had a lot of lessons working in finance for as many years as I have. A lesson I always tell people is back when I worked, and I worked for a very big financial company a while ago. I got told by a manager there, my manager, that I was acting like a woman there, and that I wrote an email and said I'm sorry, and it says you don't say you're sorry in an email. We don't apologize. We just own what we do. And I kind of had to learn that men in business and women in business are very different. And they were trying to, I know that manager was trying to show me, you need to act like a man or you won't be successful in this area. And that's a big lesson I had to learn is you had to pull back the emotional part of it. You don't cry at your desk. You don't, if something is bothering you, you better take a walk and not show that side of you. Be metered, be logical, act like the men that are in power or in control of that organization or that department.
And do you think that's good for a woman to do? Did it feel like something you could manage to do, to sort of go against your female nature and be like a man? Or do you think there's a way that a woman can do that differently, and have you explored that? Well, it sounds like
Um,
you are learning how to
I
do
think
what they
I think
expect.
it's easier maybe for some people than others. It's based on your personality. I've always had a more logical personality, but it's hard. It is hard because women, we internalize things different. We think differently. It is hard, and the only way to be successful is to think like, and I quote that, men. And that's how maybe that'll change. I hope that changes. That there's room for you know, more whatever this is, womanly behaviors. And I don't know if there is a difference or there isn't anymore, but there wasn't when I entered the finance field. You acted the way the people in charge did. And
Absolutely.
that's
I
how you
think
became
it still
successful.
exists like that, as you say, exactly like you say. And that's probably what we are all
Mm-hmm.
trying to do, I think, in Women of Truth and many other groups that I'm networked into, is that I think we are trying to create a pathway for women to be successful in their own right and to not be compared to men, and to also not have to model the way men do it. But the path doesn't exist as it is so well and so easily
Mm-hmm.
defined. I mean, great, successful women, and I think their personalities, like you said so rightly, are also shaped by what they have to adjust and stop doing and start doing
Mm-hmm.
differently. So would you say that women live with a certain kind of illusion or deception or misunderstanding about themselves. I call it the lies that we believe as women, and then what we realize later on as the truth. So I ask this question to all the women I interview: what do you think is the biggest lie that
Mhm.
women believe about themselves or about the world?
Um, that they're weak,
Right.
that they don't have the power to do whatever they want to do. Um, I think there's also a sexual thing to that as well. That men are the top dog or the sexual predator. I mean, women can be that as well.
Right.
Um, definitely that they are the submissive, the submissive, and I think that is a complete. It's not true, not true,
Yeah,
and they shouldn't embrace their submissive side. Embrace both submission, and embrace your alpha female personality traits too.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that word submission into it, because I think there's so much complexity for women about that, how to be soft, feminine, and kind of receiving and loving and nurturing and submissive, and then all of a sudden to also have to be this sexual object. And then, as you say, we can be very predatory as well. And I think we've explored and still exploring so much of it. So absolutely, the truth is that we can do stuff. We're not weak, and we need to shake that off. And it's really been interesting to hear so many women talk about that in different ways. There's a whole movement, which is why we came into contact, because we might even be collaborating at some point to put on a Women of Truth in New Jersey. I also have a new friend who's really powerful, doing a whole new project called Her Story, which I wanted to tell you more about. At some point we can organize that, really around letting women tell their story, no matter who they are or what they do, all around the world. They want to hit 1 million women in 1 year, and they're asking all these different women to collaborate around the planet, and to put on conferences in their countries, and to reach 1,000 women in each place if possible. There's a whole
Mhm.
platform rolled out for that, and I might be collaborating with them as well, because the main aspect is to make an impact in society for women and children, so that this project actually has something on the ground that it actually completes in terms of social change, that can then be presented at the next conference the next year. So there's so many of these kinds of initiatives, and really a big accent now on taking action, not just being inspired and talking about how wonderful we are, or how much we struggle, or how much empowerment we need on this or that, or even having the conversations about discriminated groups and minority groups, but really taking action in
Mhm.
society. So, what would you say about this whole movement on women's awareness in the world, and all the kind of different projects? I'm sure you've had your experience already now through the 60s. It
Mhm.
sort of started. We're here now in the 90s. We're still talking about it. What do you think about it all? What would you add to it?
About all the women's movement,
Yeah. Yeah. How do you feel about it? What do you think
it,
about it?
you know, I have mixed feelings
Right.
about the women's movement. I think women have come very far. I think I have a lot to be grateful for in my career, um, and my ability to do my volunteering and everything else. So I think that we have come very far. Um, I want us to go further, not by screaming our heads off, looking maniacal. I want us to go forward, maybe with a more logical explanation of why we want what we want, or why we are desiring more, or why we want to change our image. I just sitting out there and acting, and I hate to use this word, hysterical, like women or as men would perceive us to act as
Right.
hysterical, is
Right.
not the way to go forward.
Right.
We need to be, maybe this kind of fits into the thing of act like a man. But if you want your message heard, you have to deliver it the right way.
Right.
And I mean, I see marches in the United States. I mean, there's just these marches are just hysterical, and I won't take part in them. And I am very pro women and very pro mentorship and everything else, but it has to be done the right way with the right message.
I love that. You've said it in such a unique, clear, logical way, that we need to be more clear and logical about what it is that we want and why, because that's how we communicate and that's how men understand communication. Very, very
That's
powerful.
right.
And to not be responding so much from our emotion or our hysteria, even if we are angry and wild about it, to have a way to
Right.
communicate it more clearly so men can hear more from what we say. Because I think that's a really great power in us, is to also groom the way that we deliver our message, because we want to be
Hmm.
effective. And it is important, I think, too, to forgive and be understanding and have the compassion, but be really pushed to take the action in a responsible way. And that definitely involves
Right.
a good communicator. Thanks so much for bringing it all up with us, Lisa. We're going to wrap up by just finding out a little bit more about you and what you're most passionate about now. You're in finance, you volunteer on mental health issues. Is there anything else we need to know about you and your wonderful way of being so committed to society? What else do you work on or love?
I also do community service. I'm on another board. I do committee work as well, with the YMCA in my
Okay,
area too, which is a very big national non-for-profit that helps children and families. So I do that as well,
wonderful.
and look forward to more board things and more volunteering and further growth. And I do enjoy helping other women get where they need to go. I have daughters, and I want them to get there too. And I think it's so important to
I
teach them.
love
It is
this.
so
Definitely.
important,
Yeah, get where
and to
you,
teach our sons too. To teach our
yeah,
sons. They need to know. My son knows women can do exactly the same thing that a man
yeah,
can do. He
yeah.
knows that.
Yeah,
So,
women have such an important place to put that message through to young men and to the men around too.
mhm.
Really poignant speaking to you, nice and sharp, nice and clear, very, very logical and rational and very earthed experience on how you see things. I want to just give you this last chance to call out to women watching, all those who don't watch and never will, a way of just speaking into the air the three words that for you are really significant messages, either connected words or separate ones that are for you really important, that help everybody listening to remember you and your wisdom.
3 words:
Yeah.
passion,
Mhm,
love, and
mhm.
focus. The 3 words.
I will remember you. And I'm trying to put those three things nicely in the right place, because when that focus is wobbly,
Yes.
very little is possible. Thank you so much for
Right.
bringing us into a
Hmm.
great connection here with New Jersey, miles and miles away from where we are in Europe. Nice to know that there are so many wonderful things happening over there too. And I look forward to our collaborations and working together in the future. And thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Yes. No, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa, take care. Thanks so much.